And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rasta Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV here on livelihoods.com. My name is Kidi Obia Wadu, aka the Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you, and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives. We deal with entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Friday, the 2nd of January, 2026 in the Western Gregorian calendar. This corresponds to the year 6266 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place on LIB Radio, LIB TV, on livinginblack.com. Let me tell you what we have in store for you today. The theme for today: Diaspora Africans solve the complex problems in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and bring lasting peace. From across the diaspora, Mama Africa, we're coming home. This is the time, this is the moment, this is the year, this is the critical epoch in our unfolding story of human civilization. Africans from all over the world, across the diaspora, who identify primarily as African people, we're coming home, and we have a wonderful set of solutions today on Making Money Fridays. We diaspora Africans can begin to resolve the Democratic Republic of the Congo's crises by organizing as a strategic, well-coordinated third force that supports local peace processes, constrains external predation, and builds resilient institutions and livelihoods over decades, not election cycles. This requires shifting from charity and ad hoc activism to long-term, disciplined Pan-African peace building, economic reconstruction, and political education that Congolese explicitly lead, L-E-A-D, they lead on the ground. So that is the framework for today's discussion. We're going to go very, very deep into these set of solutions. And I do use AI in putting together today's program, even for our image that we use to promote it. I created an oil painting with Africans and their cousins from Central Africa, cooperating across economic, industrialization, mining, refining, invention, and other aspects of sustainable and sovereign development. And I do have that image up here. Let me see if I can show it to you real quick. Put up that image. This is the image that I use, and this is, of course, with the green screen filter on it. Let me take that off so you can see exactly what I am talking about. And this is the image that I put together. You have the Africans from Central Africa and across the diaspora shaking hands, working over blueprints. We see installing renewable energies, all kinds of technologies, industries, partnerships, etc. And in the background, you see the ancestors. This is AI, ancestral intelligence at work. Our generation, we are the product of all generations that have come before us, and we're very proud to carry this banner forward to the very best of our abilities. So that's what we have on the table for today. Let's do the best we can to lay this out. I want you to begin, let's begin by understand the Democratic Republic of the Congo's problem cluster. Lasting peace requires reading the DRC as an interconnected system, not just ethnic conflict or resource curves, but a number of key structural drivers, which include, number one, political. It's a weak, contested state authority, armed in groups embedded in local economies, regional interference from neighboring states, and extra-continental powers, meaning off-continent powers, constantly interfere in the Congo's affairs, political affairs, economic. The conflict minerals, coltan, cobalt, gold, titanium, and others, these conflict minerals are driving conflict by financing the militias. They're financing predatory, or they're at the heart of predatory concession contracts, meaning we have contracts with external groups, France, United States, other groups, Britain, what's the word? My language drew up short real quick, but to export these conflict minerals at terrible prices. This unfortunately results in massive youth unemployment, and it also depends on us exporting raw materials. The social part of this structural driver of the clusters: deep trauma and displacement, land disputes, gender-based violence. The violence against women across the Congo has been appalling. And the erosion of customary conflict resolution structures. And the fourth part of this problem cluster is regional and international. The whole Great Lakes is provoking regional rivalries. External corporations and security services are marching in, exploiting the DR Congo's insecurity to secure minerals cheaply. Therefore, any diaspora strategy must work on several of these layers simultaneously, rather than simply chasing single issue fixes. We got a lot of work to do. We do have wonderful groups on the ground, groups from across the diaspora. I have maintained contact with Friends of the Congo for a number of years. It's an excellent group. Yet, we are not coordinated. Now, let's work on a plan, a serious plan. And it only takes 10 of us. It only takes 10 of us to get this plan going. I've been working silently in the background to put this group of 10 people together. We're not there yet. But the 10 then begins to create waves going out from our core. And the waves go out in all directions until our 10 becomes 100. Our 100 becomes 10,000. Now, we are major players in game theory, where the ultimate prize will be the Congo. I put together this short piece of video using Notebook LM, which is it's Google's new program, Notebook LM. You tell me what you think about this short piece of video. I'm going to mute my microphone and we'll go to the video right now. Now, I will admit the video's not quite where I wanted to be. For one, I did not, when putting up the video, I did not tell which voices I wanted to be a part of the conversation, but that's okay. We're speaking English anyway, so beyond that, nothing else matters. So I'm going to mute my microphone. We're going to go to this video right now.
The Democratic Republic of Congo. It's a country that is home to one of the world's biggest, most tragic paradoxes: unbelievable wealth right alongside unbelievable suffering. So today, we're going to unpack why this is happening and look at a bold new idea for how to fix it. First, let's just start with the human cost. Take a look at this number: 7 million. That's how many people have been forced from their homes by conflict inside the DRC. The UN calls it one of the worst humanitarian crises on the planet. But that's only half of the story. Because here is the other side of that paradox: $24 trillion. That's the estimated value of the minerals just sitting in the ground there. We're talking about cobalt, coltan, copper, the stuff that powers our phones, our laptops, our entire digital world. So how on earth can a place with so much potential be in diplomacy? And you're right, they keep trying. In fact, a big US broker deal was just signed a few months ago. But here's the thing. Despite all the handshakes and photo ops, the violence is actually getting worse. And that tells you the problem is way deeper than any single piece of paper. And that right there is the heart of the Congo paradox, a land of incredible wealth and incredible suffering, where for decades, every attempt at peace has just fizzled out. The real question we have to ask is, why? Well, this latest peace deal was basically doomed from the start. For one, a huge rebel group, M23, wasn't even invited to the table. And their take is pretty simple. If a deal is made without us, it's against us. At the same time, you've got neighbors like Rwanda being accused of secretly backing these militias. Plus, a lot of people on the ground think the deal is just a way for the US to get its hands on those critical minerals. But honestly, this is nothing new. It's the same pattern we've seen for 30 years. To really get why peace keeps failing, we need to go back. Way back. Because this isn't a new crisis. It's built on a deep, deep colonial wound that was inflicted over a century ago. That's what set the stage for everything that's happening today. So check out this timeline. It really kicks off in 1885, when a bunch of European leaders literally sat around a table with a map and carved up Africa. Belgium's King Leopold got the Congo as his own personal property. Those lines he drew on the map created problems that are still around today. Fast forward to 1960, independence, but it immediately explodes into chaos. The real tipping point, though, is 1994. The Rwandan genocide spills across the border, and eastern Congo becomes a base for armed groups. This all leads to what's called Africa's World War, a conflict that killed millions and locked the region into this cycle of violence. So you see, what looks like chaos from the outside isn't random at all. It's a system, a vicious cycle that for some people is actually very, very profitable. It's a predictable pattern that just keeps fueling itself over and over again. And this system basically has 6 steps. It starts with those old colonial borders that split up ethnic groups. 2, those borders are super easy to cross, so it's a perfect hideout for rebels. 3, refugee camps turn into military bases. 4, neighboring countries start using local militias as their own little private armies to protect their interests. And here's the key. Step 5, everyone funds themselves by controlling the mines and selling off those minerals. And all of this is only possible because of step 6. The government is too weak to stop any of it. It's a total power vacuum. And this gets to the brutal, simple logic of it all. For the militias, for some of the neighboring countries, even for some international companies, instability is good for business. Peace is bad for business. Peace would shut down the whole war economy that's been built on Congo's resources. Okay, so if the peace deals always fail and history is just stuck on a loop, what's left? This is where we pivot. We're going to stop diagnosing the problem and start looking at a totally different idea. A blueprint for power made by and for Africans. I mean, let's be real. The old ways are not working. For 30 years, they relied on outside help and diplomatic handshakes, and it has been a disaster. So you have to ask, what's the alternative? Well, there is one. It's called the Diaspora Blueprint. And I want to be super clear. This is not another aid program. It's not about asking for charity. It's a disciplined Pan-African game plan for building economic strength and political independence led by the Congolese people themselves. The difference in thinking here is just massive. The old model, the one that's kept Congo weak, is this: dig valuable stuff out of the ground, sell it for cheap, and then ask for loans. You're just a consumer. The new blueprint says, no way, we're going to build our own factories, we'll process our own cobalt and lithium right here, and we'll achieve real power by becoming a manufacturer, not just a supplier of raw goods. There's this fantastic metaphor from the sources that just says it all. For decades, Africa has been playing rugby under the rules of football. The global economic game was designed by other players for other players. You're set up to fail. This blueprint says it's time to stop playing their game and start writing your own rules. So this all leads to a huge shift in strategy. The message to the world becomes, stop asking for money. No more begging for aid or loans. Start demanding industry. Demand the tools, the factories, the know-how to turn your own resources into finished products. That is where the real power is. And this isn't just some fantasy, you know? This kind of new thinking is already working in other places. Look at Tanzania. They're using these really smart, innovative financing models to build their own power grids for rural towns. They're not just waiting for handouts. They're creating a system that attracts private investment to build the infrastructure they need. It's proof that you can build the foundations of industry from the ground up.
So what this all comes down to is a complete change in mindset. It is about moving from being a pawn in somebody else's game to becoming a powerful player that controls its own board, its own pieces, and its own destiny.
Because ultimately, this blueprint is based on a cold, hard reality. For the DRC to ever find real peace, it can't rely on the sympathy of others. It has to build its own economic and political strength. Because at the end of the day, the world does not respect weakness, it respects power. And that right there might just be the most important lesson of all.
Does not respect weakness, it respects power. I hope you do enjoy that piece of video that I put together. I did that yesterday using Notebook LM. And I'm loving these programs now as I am mastering AI. That was one of the products that I was finished. I have another piece of video that I did late last night that furthers this along. Now, again, I want to return to the central theme of today's program. This is essentially a blueprint for Africa, of recovering. First, we want to start with a smaller country that is more advanced. And according to my thought, that smaller country, which is much more advanced, would be naturally Rwanda. And I would think that Rwanda would welcome African American investment to the tune of tens of billions of dollars initially, and ultimately tens of billions of dollars annually, investing what we can. Let's go now into these investments. For one, let's talk about core roles for the African diaspora. Research on African and Congolese diasporas show that they can be powerful, either for escalating, meaning funding the armed groups, or for peace, mediation, advocacy, institution building. The key is disciplined organization and alignment with Congolese civil society. Point one, to act as a peace and mediation support network, supporting existing African-led peace frameworks, such as the Luanda and Nairobi processes, by amplifying their legitimacy, exposing spoilers, and ensuring that women, youth, and local communities are included. Point two, create this diaspora, quote, peace caucuses, unquote, that interface with Congolese churches, women's networks, youth groups, and traditional authorities, providing technical expertise in mediation, trauma healing, and non-violent organizing. And point three, use diaspora convening power to host neutral dialogue spaces abroad, including think tanks, university forums, churches, mosques, where rival Congolese factions and regional actors can meet with less immediate security risk. So all of those are under category number 1, diaspora acting as a peace and mediation support network. Point 2, to reorient money flows away from war. Organize remittances into transparent, conflict-sensitive community funds instead of fragmented individual transfers that can be captured by armed actors. Point 2, set up diaspora-backed social enterprises and cooperatives in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. Agro-processing, local manufacturing, logistics that deliberately avoid paying taxes, quote unquote, to militias and instead work under protection and oversight of legitimate local and regional authorities. Point 3, this has all been very well thought out. Point 3, support certification and due diligence schemes for minerals and pressure companies and governments in North America, Europe, China, and the Gulf to clean up supply chains from, quote, blood cobalt and blood coltan, unquote. We did it with South Africa, with Zaire, the blood diamonds, the mercenaries in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and all that. We were a part of that process, and it worked. Now, let's extend this into Central Africa. Number 3, African in the diaspora must build institutional muscle, not just projects. Point, shift from short-term charity projects to funding Congolese-led institutions, including independent media, legal aid centers, land commissions, women's shelters, civic academies, and community-run schools and clinics. Point 2, use diaspora professional networks, law, engineering, medicine, IT, security sector reform, to do structured skills transfer and temporary returns, similar to IOM's Mid-Great Lakes model, where diaspora experts help build local capacity. And point 3, of building institutional muscle, endow independent research centers in Kinshasa, Goma, Bakuva, Bukavu, I should say, and Lumumbashi, that can generate data on land displacement, human rights abuses, and contracts, giving civil society and reformists evidence to negotiate. Next point, political education and narrative warfare. The Democratic Republic of the Congo conflict survives partly because of confusion, propaganda, and external narrative control. What do we say often around here? Until the lion learns to write, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Well, the hunter in this case are external players. Diaspora Africans have leverage in global media and academia. We should launch coordinated narrative campaigns, propaganda campaigns exposing the geopolitical and corporate interests behind the Democratic Republic of the Congo's wars, connecting the DRC minerals to global tech, green energy, and defense supply chains. Point, develop Pan-African curricula, podcasts, and documentaries that explain the history of the Congo from Leopold to today, and stress African agency so that youth across the continent and in the diaspora see the Democratic Republic of the Congo as central to African sovereignty and not a, quote, far away tragedy. Point. We must train Congolese and wider African youth in media literacy, digital security, and counter propaganda so that they can resist recruitment by armed groups or manipulation by external actors. So I'm doing the best I can to put together a complete program. I see you in-house, Eddie McCroy. Welcome to the conversation. I hope that you are interested, fascinated by what I'm doing here. I hope you got a chance and do get a chance to watch the short piece of video I created. It's just about 8 minutes long, the Congo Paradox. You tell me what you think about it. Let's see, do we have any comments? We have 4 African ones checking in, Hotep, Brother Kitty, and Global LIB family. Please do, wherever you're listening. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the like button. If you are listening on our Facebook, or if you are on not Bluetooth, what's it called? It's called Rumble. Hit the like button. It's very important that we show the interest, collective interest in what we are doing. I'm serious today. I'm talking about we now take primary responsibility. It's a brand new year. My New Year's resolution is to get involved, stop procrastinating. And I'm going to stop procrastinating. I am going to stop procrastinating. If I come up with great ideas, I'm going to act upon them. And the thing I'm going to do this year, this is the year of collaboration, cooperation. Last year, we declared was the year of collaboration and cooperation. And you know something? I didn't do a bad job. Now we're going to formalize this collaboration and cooperation. So first of all, I'm looking to find, let me put up this YouTube page in the background so I can monitor what's happening there. And bear with me 1 sec while I turn down the sound. And bear with me. And I did turn down the sound, and we are live and direct. Would love to hear from you, our listening audience today. Just drop a line or two in the chat and say either you're with us or you are against us. Please do. Please respond. Let's go forward. We got a lot more on the table, and I'm very serious about this as well. Concrete steps for Diaspora Africans to move from concept to practice. Diaspora communities can take sequential steps that build power over time. That was why I suggested we don't go into the Congo. Congo is much too large, much too deeply entrenched, and much too complex for us to begin there. We've got to build up momentum, and the perfect place to build momentum is right next door at Rwanda. Point 1. Internal discipline first. To create Pan-African, which Pan, let me clear up this. Pan does not mean the Greek boy or the Greek deviant. No, Pan is not a Greek god. Let's clear this up. Pan-African is a term given by us, to us, for us, which means across all Africans. So I'm serious about that. So I'm not throwing away the term Pan-African. I do like the term African-centered, but it's not accurate as Pan-African. So Pan-African, create Pan-African, but Congo-centered umbrella platforms that unify fragmented diaspora associations under shared principles. Non-support to armed groups, respect for Congolese grassroots leadership, gender equity, transparency. Very important. Point under here, under internal discipline first. Develop codes of conduct and vetting, so diaspora money and advocacy are not hijacked by war entrepreneurs or ethnic chauvinists. Strategic alliances. Form partnerships with serious Congolese non-governmental organizations, churches, women's movements, and youth groups. Treat them as principals, not subcontractors. Treat them as principals. This is a Congolese-led movement here. It will be backed by the diaspora. And point two, engage the African Union, regional organizations such as IGAD, and the Intergovernmental Authority on the Great Lakes region, and sympathetic states to institutionalize diaspora participation in official peace and reconstruction frameworks for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Peace and reconstruction frameworks are central focus. Long-term investment. Prioritize sectors where peace dividends are visible and fast. Local food production, health, education, solar energy, and digital connectivity with clear anti-corruption safeguards. Let's not put it in there only to have some local thieves steal it all. No, this ain't that kind of party. And it's been done so many times that our anti-corruption safeguards are going to have to be real, they're going to be novel, and they're going to have to be very determined about the outcome. Long-term horizons support trauma healing and psychosocial programs for survivors of war and gender-based violence, recognizing that untreated trauma fuels cycles of revenge and militia recruitment. Diaspora Africans cannot, quote, solve the Democratic Republic of the Congo from abroad, but we can decisively tilt the balance toward peace by aligning money, knowledge, and narrative in service of Congolese-led transformation over decades. Now, I have a second piece of video that I have created here, and I'm going to share the second piece of video, and this focuses now on solutions. Now, let me put up this second piece of video. I have it here, and we're going to share screen to blueprints for this one is Diaspora Africans solve the complex of problems dealing with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So let me quickly put this one up. No, that's not it. Quick, share video, share screen. And this one is entitled Blueprint for a Nation. That's it. So bear with me. This is Blueprint for a Nation. And I'm going to mute my microphone right now and play this video. This one is about 6 minutes long, and it's going to stop rather abruptly at the end, but that's fine. It stops right just where I wanted it to stop. I'll mute my microphone, and let's go to that.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into something huge, some of the most ambitious ideas you can imagine. We're talking about actual blueprints for building or sometimes completely rebuilding a nation from the ground up. I mean, think about it. How do you fix a nation that's just broken? Or, and this is even wilder, how do you build a brand new one from scratch? These are massive, massive questions. And today, we're going to look at 3 incredible and very different master plans that tried to answer them. All right, so first up, we've got something called the third force strategy. Now, you can think of this as a blueprint for healing a nation. It's designed for a place that's not just dealing with one problem, but a whole web of them all tangled together. And our case study for this is the Democratic Republic of Congo. And this is where you really start to see why it's so complicated. In the DRC, it's not just one issue. It's what experts call a problem cluster. You've got a weak government, sure, but then you've also got an economy running on conflict minerals. You've got this deep collective trauma in the society, and you have other countries and corporations meddling from the outside. It's like a giant messy knot. You can't just pull one string. You have to figure out how to untangle the whole thing at once. So what's the answer? Well, that's where the third force comes in. And this is key. It's not about a quick charity handout or a temporary fix. Nope. This is a long game strategy. It's about a disciplined, coordinated effort led by the African diaspora working hand in hand with folks on the ground in the Congo to build strong, resilient institutions. And we're not talking about a few years. We're talking about decades. So how does it actually work? Well, it's pretty brilliant. The diaspora doesn't just send money. They act as a support network for peace and mediation. They actively work to reroute money away from the war economy and into things like local businesses and community funds. And maybe the most crucial part, they focus on building what you could call institutional muscle. We're talking about things like independent news outlets, legal aid centers, stuff that's built to last and gives the community real power. Okay, let's switch gears for a second. There's this powerful political tool out there called a plebiscite. It's basically a direct vote where everyone gets to say yes or no to one big game-changing question, like should we become an independent country? And that exact idea, a direct vote, is the cornerstone of our second blueprint, which is honestly way more radical. So yeah, how do you take that idea of a simple yes or no vote and use it to build a whole new nation? Well, our next blueprint lays it all out. And get this, we're not talking about fixing a country anymore. We're talking about creating a brand new one based on the principle of self-determination. This whole concept was championed by a man named Imari Obadeli, who was a key leader in the Republic of New Africa movement. And his words here just perfectly lay out the strategy. It's a clear three-step process. Get the people on board, hold the official vote, and then be ready to defend the result. So what was this vision? It was for a separate, independent nation for Afro-descendants in the United States, specifically located in 5 southern states. The whole idea rested on a really fundamental principle, one that's at the heart of international law. For a government to be legitimate, the people it governs have to consent to it. They have to agree to be governed. Now, their plan wasn't just to declare independence. They wanted to take their case to the world stage, to the United Nations. They planned to ask 2 huge fundamental questions. Question 1, do Black Americans brought to the U.S. against their will and never given a choice have the right to choose their own citizenship now? And question 2, do they have a right to reparations for slavery? Not just in cash, but in the form of land. And look, this wasn't just some abstract idea. They had a very clear, mechanical, step-by-step plan. You start with a petition drive just to prove that people actually want this. Then you campaign and talk to lawmakers to show you're serious and that your intentions are peaceful. Then you hold the official vote, the plebiscite, to get that formal consent. And only after all that do you start the process of actually governing yourselves. Okay, so we've seen a blueprint for healing a nation and one for creating a new one entirely. But what if your goal is something different? What if you want to take an existing nation and just transform it, modernize it from the inside out? Well, our third and final blueprint is a super pragmatic model for doing exactly that. And we're going to look at Rwanda as our example. The core strategy here is just so smart, and you could call it the small victories approach. The idea is, instead of trying to fix every single problem at once and getting totally overwhelmed, you pick a few key areas where you can score some real tangible wins. Each victory builds on the last. It boosts everyone's confidence, it brings in investment, and it creates this snowball effect of positive change. And this is what it looks like in the real world. In Rwanda, they picked their battles. They brought in precision farming to make sure people had enough to eat. They used mobile health technology to get better healthcare out to rural areas. They launched digital literacy programs to create a modern workforce that foreign companies would want to invest in. You see, each one is a specific, targeted small victory, but together they create these huge positive ripple effects across the whole country. All right, so we've just walked through 3 incredibly different blueprints, but they all share the same giant ambition, right? To create fundamental, lasting change for a nation. So let's kind of put them all side by side and see what the big picture looks like. This really sums it all up. You have the third force in the DRC, which is all about healing and rebuilding, with the diaspora and locals leading the charge. You've got the plebiscite model, which is about separating and creating something new, powered by the people demanding their right to choose. And then you've got the Rwandan model, focused on modernizing and growing, driven by the government and outside investment. Three totally different approaches, each with its own engine driving the change. So where does that leave us? I think it's clear that each of these blueprints has something powerful to teach us. You know, you have the patience and deep community work of the third force, the bold, principled demand for self-determination from the RNA, and the strategic momentum-building approach of Rwanda. All of them offer these incredible lessons. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? In today's world, with all the complex challenges we face, what parts of these blueprints, what ideas might hold the key to building a better future?
All right, that did cut off rather quickly, rather abruptly. It was just about 5 or 10 seconds away from what I needed from it. And I'll have to go back and render it again, make it just a little bit longer, or I can make it a little bit shorter. The key about it is, and they did bring up Imari Obadele, the founder of the Republic of New Africa, and what they had attempted to do back in the 60s in the United States. I think that we should all know that story, and we should all commit to giving this ancestor his satisfaction. Ultimately, I say let's reclaim and build up a continent from the diaspora that will be undeniably the most powerful continent on earth. Africa, united, federated as a single state, a single functional state, will be the most populous state, obviously, of any country in the world. And it will rival only the Asian continent in population. In Africa and the United Asians that's the future. That is undeniably the future that can hold back all of the former imperialist colonial powers who actually threaten us all at this point with nuclear annihilation. As they are shrinking into minority on this planet, they hold us all for ransom. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think you do. So let's continue. We're going to go on with the conversation today, and I welcome you, our listening audience, to participate. Participate. There's no reason in the world that I should be attempting to carry this burden alone. We can do what we really do want to do. Some of us just want to remain anonymous in the background, but that's not your brother. So we're going to go next. It did talk about the plebiscite. If you don't know this word, a plebiscite is a direct vote in which the people of a country or a specific region or subset of the people of that country are asked to decide yes or no on a particular political question, such as independence, a change of ruler, or a major policy. It does not choose between candidates, but rather accepts or rejects a single proposal or course of action. They did hold a plebiscite in the Crimea, and they are planning, or I think they will end up holding a plebiscite in eastern Ukraine. In the Crimea, the Crimean people voted yes. They wanted to secede from Ukraine and join Russia. Why? Because that's where their ethnic origins were, the majority of them. And similarly, in eastern Ukraine, their origins are from Russia, and they probably will follow Crimea and join Russia. That's a whole nother topic, but that's the function of a plebiscite. Basic meaning, a plebiscite is a popular vote on one clearly framed question, often of high national importance. Voters typically answer with yes or no, expressing approval or disapproval of the proposal. How does a plebiscite differ from elections? In an election, people choose representatives. For example, a president, MP, Minister of Parliament, or mayor. In a plebiscite, people decide on an issue, not a person. Some scholars and officials use plebiscite and referendum almost interchangeably, but others reserve plebiscite for more controlled or regime-driven votes, especially in less democratic contexts. So historical and political uses from the Latin term plebiscitum, meaning a decree of the common form in the Roman Republic. Plebiscites have been used, for example, to ratify new constitutions, legitimize rulers, or decide questions of independence or annexation, which was the case in Crimea. So now let's start to put together our strategic decision. The strategic decision is we're going to hold a plebiscite to say, do we, as Africans across the diaspora, do we vote to go with our African brothers and sisters on the continent into the future as partners in building this global future? Yes or no? Point one, given your expertise, it says the blueprint moves. Now, this is also, it's starting to learn my personality. Given your expertise, this blueprint moves past basic advocacy into a high-level strategic framework for asymmetric empowerment and sovereign institution building by 2040. By 2040. So that means that's what, 15 years from now? This plan should be well underway. It can be done. There's no doubt in my mind it can be done. We begin with the plebiscite. Point one, intellectual autonomy and strategic discipline. The first step is a rigorous decolonization of the mind. I'll repeat, the first step is a rigorous decolonization of the mind to solve the schizophrenia of looking toward colonial capitals for approval. This requires, point A, compulsory knowledge. Establish a unified doctrine based on foundational texts such as Walter Rodney, Carter G. Woodson, Cheikh Anta Diop, and many others to eliminate the, quote, slave mentality and ensure diaspora leaders are not mentally uncircumcised, it says, when engaging with external powers. Point two, umbrella governance. Form unified platforms with strict vetting to prevent war entrepreneurs or ethnic chauvinists from hijacking diaspora capital. To gain political leverage, the diaspora must shift from being a minority in the West to a majority force with a pan-African, Afro-Asian alliance. And this is very, very important. Let me just real quickly. To gain political leverage, the diaspora must shift from being a minority in the West to a majority force within a pan-African, Afro-Asian alliance. So ultimately, this is looking beyond even further to the future, 500 years to the future, with the Afro-Asian alliance taming the United Europeans' dominance over all of us. Legal legitimacy. We must execute campaigns for consent, followed by plebiscites to establish an implacable, accomplished fact of legitimacy under international law. And two, we can and we must use reparations as startup money or seed money. Demand reparations. It's estimated in this document at $300 billion. I say reparations for the atrocities against African Americans alone equates to $24 trillion. And you've heard me say that many times, $23.57 trillion is our demand. And that was 10 years ago now, almost 10 years ago. The interest on that is still building. So establish demand reparations as startup money, as essential capital for building new communities, Kujichagulia villages, and national infrastructure rather than accepting predatory IMF and World Bank loans. We must become our own global finance bank. We do have an African Development Bank, and that one is definitely a sense of pride, and we are going to put good money behind the African Development Bank, no doubt. Point 3, technological and economic leapfrogging. You must know this word, tech leapfrogging. By 2040, the diaspora must control the means of production rather than just providing raw exports. Value chain control. Transition from mineral extraction to manufacturing final products like batteries, cars, and computers within the DRC to capture the full economic dividend of critical minerals like cobalt and lithium. And of course, President Tshisekedi, who's the president of a disunited DR Congo right now. I hate to say it like that, but it is true. But he did propose that one of his primary goals for his country, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, was to begin to implement the process for becoming the smelting capital of the African continent. I think it's a great, great goal. It's a great vision, a great plan. And I do believe we, the African diaspora, should invest in it very heavily. Energy infrastructure. We can replicate the Tanzania mini grid project finance model using special purpose entities and REEPP style loans to provide high quality solar power for industrial hubs. And let me look up this REEP style loans. I do need to know what that means, that acronym, because undoubtedly I will be using that in the future. REP style loans. What are they? Put a question mark after it, and DuckDuckGo is going to tell me REPEP style loans. REPP style loans. Overview of REPP Repayment Assistance Program. REPP style loans are also known as the Repayment Assistance Program, RAP, are part of a significant overhaul of the federal student loan system set to take effect starting July 1st, 2026. The new plan will primarily replace existing income-driven repayment. That's not the same thing. Let's go back. Let's try this one more time. In Africa, in Tanzania, for renewable energy. That was what it was. And it's going to tell me what REPP style loans are. And bear with me, I have to hit a couple of buttons. And it is looking for it, and it is taking its good old time. REPP style loans for renewable energy in Tanzania. The Renewable Energy Performance Platform, REPP, is pivotal in financing efforts to enhance renewable energy projects. The initiative aims to foster the development of sustainable energy solutions, especially focusing on rural and underserved communications. So that's what REPP style loans are. I'm going to put this here in my report. And where we at? What happened? REPP style loans. What happened? Let me undo that. And then put this in. I'm up. Okay, I see where I'm at. Okay, here we go. REPP style loans. In Tanzania, the Renewable Energy Performance Platform is pivotal in financing efforts to enhance renewable energy projects. This initiative aims to foster the development and sustainable energy solutions, especially focusing on rural and underserved communities. There we go. Next comes, let me highlight that, bold that, and save. Conflict-sensitive finance. Reorient remittances into transparent community funds that bypass, quote, war economies and fund diaspora-backed social enterprises. Next point, institutional muscle and narrative warfare. Power is maintained through the control of data and the, quote, narrative of the struggle, unquote. Counter disinformation, counter propaganda. We can and must train youth in digital security and media literacy to resist recruitment and neutralize external propaganda. Independent research. Endow centers in Kinshasa and Goma to generate data on land disputes and human rights, giving local reformists the institutional muscle to negotiate from a position of strength. Now, we're almost finished with this particular document, and we've got a few more minutes, and it asks the question, does this high-level integration of history, plebiscite theory, and industrial leapfrogging, does this align with your vision for 2040? We can dive deeper into the specific military viability or second strike diplomatic strategies if you like. Well, I don't necessarily want to go into those, although I will say they should be considered. Military must be considered. But personally, I think that the military approach to defining Africa's future always results in delayed consequences. And a part of that delay is always the blowback from military engagement. Now, I still have all of this research. Do I have it up on the table for today? Bear with me. I'm going to try and find it. And I'm not getting any commentary at all from my audience today. I actually see a good number of you are in the Rumble page. And I'm going to look, and I bet you you are viewing us on YouTube as well. I do see one person other than myself has hit the like button. But I bet you we're doing better than this. But my audience, you're not responding. And I'm going to cut the program. We did finish up the December fund drive by New Year's Eve. If you do want to contribute further, you can go to, if you're on our Rumble, scroll down to where you see the $ underneath your chat box. You see a gift package there as well. You can click on those links and make a one-time quick donation to our Rumble page. And I'm looking at the Rumble page right now, and it was close to, but not quite yet, the point where it would give us the donation. It has to have a certain amount before it frees it up. And it's still $9 short. And $9 short, and then we will be access to the funds there. I do encourage you to take your responsibility to give to something. We are attempting to solve the problem of the Congo. And I am very serious about what I engage myself in. In the background, I am in constant daily negotiations with people interested in solving our long-term problems. We can do what we will to do. And I did send the Congo paradox to one of my associates, and he said it's a great case study report that provides the history of the conflict, who profits from it, and the required steps to produce justice. I love it. And let's do the best we can to create solutions. I sent it to my sister Shingai. Oh, I sent her the Karasma Kwanzaa. She didn't comment on the video, but I hope that you, beloved sister, did enjoy it. So on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in today to your LIB Radio, LIB TV, livinginblack.com. We're going to continue. We've got a long ways to go. If I spend the entire year, 2026, 2027, if I work up until 2040 on what we discussed here today, it will have been a lot of well invested time. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep reaching out to each and every one of you individually to say, do you want to help? Do you have skills, talents, things that you want to implement for the benefit of our long-term community, sustainable community development? And some will say, yeah, I'll help, and I'll never hear back from them again. But then some will say, yes, I'll help. I'm so happy that you asked. And here's what I have to contribute to the process. I want to thank you for tuning in. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio. We are LIB TV. We are certainly livinginblack.com. Tell your friends to tell their friends that we have our own now. And we can be very proud of what we have, who we have with us, and where we're going with all of this for our future. This is the African future. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.